to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. A warm welcome to everyone present here for the two-day national workshop on research methodology organized by Kerala Law Academy Law College in association with Center for Advanced Legal Studies and Research. Founded in 1966 by the late luminary N. Narayan Nair sir. Research is not just a process of gathering information. It is a process of answering unanswered questions or creating that which currently does not exist. Research can be seen as expanding the boundaries of our ignorance, and to further expand those boundaries, I am humbled and take much pleasure in having the opportunity to introduce the chief guest for today's session. She is none other than Dr. Haritha Devi. She holds an LLM and a PhD in law. She's an associate professor from the School of Excellence in Law at the Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University, Chennai. She has a teaching experience of over 18 years. She has specialization in commercial law, constitutional law, and presently holding the head of department in charge of environmental law at the Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University. She is presently holding the post of director in charge at the same university. Her thesis topic is Reproductive Rights of Women, Emerging Legal Trends in India. She has presented around 40 papers in national and international conferences. She has experience and participated in workshops, conferences, and chaired in 30 sessions, and participated as a resource person in around 35 national and international conferences. She has published numerous articles and journals, including various books. She has authored around 15 books and edited 5 volumes. These are certainly not enough words to express our gratitude to you, ma'am. We are lucky to have you for this session. And now I request the Honourable Chief Guest to address the gathering and shine the light of knowledge on us. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Arjun. That was a nice introduction. Thank you for introducing me. And at the outset, let me thank the organizers of this program. Hats off to them because they are conducting it so many times, I think the 6th edition or something. And I'm also thankful, especially thankful because I am invited for the 2nd time. Previous edition also I had presented a session. So generally they say, you must have a lot of guts to invite somebody who has already presented. So I must thank Dakshina ma'am for giving me this opportunity and the entire team for giving me this opportunity once again in Kerala Law Academy. We all see it as a prestigious event to take part in any of the events of yours. Let me go to the topic. I think today I am assigned with the task of going this tools, or I would say the steps for data collection, or I would say the data collection tools or techniques for data collection. That was the topic assigned to me. So when we talk about, hope my screen is visible, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So in every research when we take, either it's social science, legal research, or any research for that matter, it's essential to collect some data, right? Whether it is factual material or data which is unknown or which is untapped so far. So that's the idea behind bringing up this topic into this edition of Research Methodology Workshop. That is, we can get data, or our sources of data may be direct or indirect. Sometimes a small piece of information in a magazine or an article writing or something like that, that gives us a spark. And from there, we go in search of a data. So go further, and sometimes that's how research becomes so meaningful. But for every type of research, we need certain instruments to gather the new facts and to explore the field. Because as every time our professors and our seniors used to tell, data will not come to your hand. It's available somewhere, but we only have to go in search of the data. So while going for a search of data, we need some techniques or tools in our hand, how to go. Otherwise, it will be like wandering for data, and whatever data we collect, we will keep it. Nowadays, it's online. So whenever we see some material, we immediately download it and keep it. But whether it is really useful or whether it is going to be uh, really cited in our piece of work when we give it as a report, all these are questions. So today I'll be dealing about the techniques for data collection, how we can proceed further, a small presentation. Now, when we speak about data collection, the elements of, I'm sorry, I think I'm on the screen, correct? Okay. So elements of data collection, when I feel that data collection is always a very demanding job in any research, whether it is social science or legal research, because in science experiments, we used to hear from people who do research in science, they say they wait for months together to get the result in an experiment. Even a week time, month time, years time, they have to wait. So many times they have to repeat the experiment and then only they get a proper result. So definitely it is a demanding job. Even in our case of legal research, when it comes, collecting the cases or say Supreme Court, from when we have to collect the cases on this topic, all this itself. So definitely it is a demanding job. So the first element which I feel is that there should be proper planning for data collection. Otherwise, we will land up in trouble. Or but sometimes we hear from many people, those who are doing research, the minimum period is 3 years, full time or part time, we say. If you ask by the end of 2 years to someone, the answer will be, I'm collecting data. Yes. So 2 years over, but still we will say, or even I would have said, while I was doing my PhD, I would say that, yes, I am collecting my data. But all the 2 years, whatever we collected, is it really useful? For that, the answer is there should be proper planning for collecting data also. And hard work has to be put in this stage, because it is this stage that makes you write and present the thesis finally, whether it is dissertation, whether it is thesis, or even if it is an article. Data collection requires some hard work, because once that is done with accuracy, automatically your presentation will look good or will end up good. So patience is very much essential. Many times, again, from the student's point of view, we hear they'll collect some topic or they'll choose some topic for research, even for dissertation, LLM. After say to 1 month, maximum 1 month, they will look into and they'll say, ma'am, there's no data in this, or there's no materials in this, so I'm switching over to next topic. So that is not the correct attitude, because the more and more we change topic, again we have to collect data from the beginning, right? So patience is also one of the very important element of data collection, and perseverance. So continuous efforts, sustained efforts only will result in proper data collection, and in the end we will see a good thesis in front of us, right? So data collection is the process of gathering and measuring information on variables of interest in an established systematic fashion that enables one to answer the research questions or the hypothesis, or evaluate finally. So the data which is collected by anyone, there must be an answer for their hypothesis in that, or they must be able to test the hypothesis or whatever. And the research questions must be answered by way of this data collected. So what we understand from this at this point is that research process requires, previously, before data collection itself, you must be clear about your research questions, so that only for that research questions you will collect data. Otherwise, you will wander away. So any field of study, defined data, that is whether it be qualitative or quantitative, I will be explaining in a while, that accurate data collection is essential to maintain the integrity of the research, because we can say anything out of our own, and the examiners or anyone who hears will tell That is your imagination. Is there anything to prove that what you are saying? Whether it be qualitative data or quantitative data, or even in our language, case studies, or whether we have cases, anything, some answer should be there. Otherwise, it will affect the integrity of our research. So the goal of data collection is to give quality evidence for what we have asked. Research. So we are searching, right? Research. So the process will go and we will be able to give a convincible answer to the world regarding the topic only if there is quality evidence in our hand. And so bringing about that quality evidence is the goal for any data collection. And both the selection of appropriate data and which technique are you using that to collect the appropriate data will reduce the likelihood of errors in our conclusion, whether it be science or whether it be legal research. If we are collecting accurate data, and to collect that accurate data, if we are following proper procedure, then automatically the error which will be in the end will reduce. So that is what is the reason why data collection should be done properly with using proper techniques. Now, the steps for data collection, if you take, the first step would be define the aim of the research process or research. What are you actually going to do? What is your aim? Second step would be choose your data collection method. So what method are you going to follow? Whether qualitative, quantitative, or questionnaire, interview, whatever you call, all those techniques will be coming up in the discussion. So which method are you going to follow in the process of collecting the data for your research? So the topic in hand is very, very important. As I told you, the research question becomes important. To answer that question only, your method must be done. I have seen many times students, when they go for a non-doctrinal study or an empirical study, in other words, or if they want to do a dissertation on a live thing or a project or something like that, immediately everybody will jump into interview method or questionnaire method. And nowadays we see very often we receive some questionnaires being prepared online and sent to us. Please fill up this form so that we are using it for research. We hear every day we receive at least one. But my to make you my little tip would be whether questionnaire is the right method. First, we have to decide. Choose your data collection method. For every topic, everybody cannot go and do a questionnaire. That's not possible. Or interview method also. Any method for that matter. All of us cannot choose everything. It depends on what is your topic, what is your research question, etc. Even doctrinal and non-doctrinal, whether our research is going to be empirical or not, itself will be decided based on the topic which you have chosen and the research questions which you are trying to answer. And the third one would be plan your data collection procedures. So once you have decided that I am going to collect data by interview method or questionnaire method or survey method, something like that, then please plan that procedure. It's not that whatever you want, you can ask as a question. Say interview method, you are going directly face to face. So that doesn't mean you can ask anything, whatever you want. No, you may not get the right answer. So planning, what are the questions which we are going to ask? Whether the person to be interviewed will get that confidence in us of the questions to be answered. Otherwise, we will not get a right answer. So these things have to be planned. And how long? The time period. Please fix the time period for data collection in whatever method you use. Otherwise, by the end of the period, sometimes even the 3 years will go, we think we are collecting data, but the time period will go away like that. So that we have to be very careful. And operationalization is the fourth step for data collection. That is qualitative and quantitative when we say suppose we want to know the the working capacity of the managers of a factory or the some uh, industry or something like that. So we are going to interview the managers or etc. So this is like a quality of that manager, how well I am doing it. Now, with the quality alone, you cannot answer finally. So this quality, that is qualitatively, he would say, I'm very good, this, I have the skill, etc., etc. He will say. This has to be converted into numerical data also. This is what I mean by operationalization. That is, we can ask the managers, for example, give a marks for your efficiency from 0 to 5. So automatically you are able to bring into numerical the data which was before qualitative, right? So that's operationalization. And then after following the above procedures, then collect the data. So you define the aim of your research, choose your data collection method, plan your data collection procedure, operationalization, that is whether I will be able to convert everything into numerical form, and then you have to collect the data. Simple steps for data collection. Then we come to these points when we try to explain defining the aim of your research. First step, as I told you, define the aim of your research. You need to identify exactly what you want to collect, and normally, to start that, we have to write a problem statement. So what is the practical or scientific issue that you want to address and why does it matter? So that we have to make it clear in the beginning. Formulate one or more research questions that precisely will define what you want to find out. Then data collection will be very easy. And finally, depending upon your research question, you might have to collect either qualitative or quantitative data. So defining the aim of the research will help in going forward to decide whether I need qualitative or quantitative data. Now, what is this qualitative data? Generally, it is the descriptions like feelings, intuition, sensations, values, beauty, etc., etc. Like this, what we feel, right? So it's like verbal and written feedback. So qualitative data is mostly non-numerical. It will not be in numbers and usually descriptive or nominal in nature. This means the data collected are in the form of words and sentences. Sometimes when we receive a questionnaire, would you like it, yes or no, or how much you like it, yes or no, like this and all it comes. So this is qualitative data, and such data will usually try to capture the feelings, emotions, or perceptions of something. Examples: suppose an online review, a customer writes about a product. So the answer to an open-ended question. So you leave it to him. You give a gap and say, you write what you feel. Like that also, some questions are asked. And what are the programs which you would like to watch online? What type of programs? We say comedy. We say thriller. What movies would you like to watch? Now we get answer thriller, comedy, family. Like this we will receive. So these are all qualitative data. So qualitative data is expressed in words and analyzed through interpretations and categorizations, right? So it explains the why behind the information quantitative data will reveal. So if I say the number of male members who are efficient, so number I will get in quantitative data, but how many people are efficient or what describes their efficiency? Why are you saying that women are efficient or males are only efficient in this capacity? If you ask the question why, the answer will be given by collecting qualitative data. The answer to that why question. Quantitative data, on the other hand, is the numerical form and it can be mathematically computed. So 1, 2, 3, 5 members are like this, 7 members are like this we can compute. For example, how many customers have bought this product? The rating the customer gives for the product out of 5 stars and all, we'll rate, no? So how many times somebody has visited the library? Like this, we can quantify, then it is quantitative data. Quantitative data measure uses different scales which can be classified as nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. So these are all numerical terms. When we do research, especially after collecting empirical data, and we try to quantify them, we will find all this. So in a scale, we say 0 to 5, how much? Now, age or male member and all, we give a number for them. If it is male, it is 1. If it is female, it is 2. Like this, we give number. That's why it is nominal, ordinal, interval, etc. So that's quantitative for you. And quantitative data will be usually expressed in graphs and analyzed through statistical methods. But today, I think we do not have to fear for this statistical analysis. There was a time when legal research did not find any quantitative data because we were purely doctrinal and all. Today, socio-legal research, everybody is going for quantifying the data. But for that also, all statistical methods have come, like SPSS and all is so easy that you just collect the raw data, give it inside, it will compute and give you with graphs, with all that stuff. So that has become very, very easy. So qualitative data and quantitative data, I have just explained. Now coming to, if your aim is to test a hypothesis, measure something, or gain some large scale statistical insights, then you have to go for quantitative data only. But if you have to explore ideas, understand the experiences, or gain detailed insights into a specific context, collect qualitative data. Now, when it comes to, say, for example, role of Supreme Court, how whether they were liberal in the interpretation of this particular topic for the past 5 years. Like this, if we are searching, we have to study the cases only, the judgments only. But it can be quantified. But that's why if you have some several aims, how many cases alone is my study, then only quantify. But how well they have interpreted it, or how whether it is liberal interpretation or strict interpretation, etc., etc., then we have to use mixed methods approach that collects both types of data. So sometimes it will be qualitative and sometimes it will be quantitative. So quantitative examples like money, time, speed, movement, etc., etc., all these are quantitative data. Hope I'm audible and going well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now coming to specifically on legal research, right? Legal research process is performed between two common methods, doctrinal or empirical methods. That is, as I told you, doctrinal or non-doctrinal, they'll say, otherwise empirical research. And following any one method out of the two require distinct sources of data. There we have to be very clear that if it is doctrinal research, collecting data is different, methods have to be followed. If it is empirical, then it's completely vary. We have to collect in a different way. Because overall approach of research, whether it is procedural and technical, changes with individual method. Likewise, when you change the techniques of data collection, your results are different or you're approaching it in a different way. The same topic can be approached both doctrinal and non-doctrinal. There is always a doubt whether which is good and all. Nothing like that. For example, an international law person, like expert in international law, they want to do a research on the role of United Nations or how countries have behaved or interpreted. Empirical, is it possible to go and interview every state's head or president or something like that? We cannot do. So they have to study something in a doctrinal way, international law, principles, the treaties, the conventions, that only they have to read. That doesn't mean that's wrong. No. So doctrinal or non-doctrinal, which one is good? There's always nothing like that. Both are equally good, provided what is the topic which we have chosen. Suppose someone say, I'm going to study how well this act is implemented, or what are the difficulties in implementing, then automatically you have to find out where did this law fail, where you have to collect data on that side, right? Suppose you say, no, I am going to study only the theories which has been put forward. Doctrinal is fine. So it depends upon the research topic which you have chosen. So doctrinal research data collection first, right? What are the techniques that can be used? When I say the domain of doctrinal research itself contain the only two, not much techniques there, because library research is the first and foremost or the very important in doctrinal research. So we have to study the legal theories, principles and position of law. All these may be referred by sitting inside the library. Doctrinal research. So we should study the legal theories. We should study the international perspective, then come to the national perspective, or sometimes we have to learn the comparative perspective. So all these methods you have to learn. And the contents of the documents are self-sufficient to be shown as good evidence of what law is on an issue of law and society, the explanations, and the object of law can be referred by bare reading of text. Because we have bare act that's considered to be our primary source only. So we take that document which is already available, that is suppose an act, Consumer Protection Act, like that we take an act. With that act, we study the judgments already pronounced under some of the sections of that act, how they have interpreted. All this we study. This is purely doctrinal. But we have to collect data here also. That doesn't mean doctrinal means no data collection. No, doctrinal means the data collected is from the library. That's all. There also data collection is important because we have to learn all the cases. Sometimes doctrinal research, legal research, we say, and there is no case, we'll say. Then why do you do? You cannot do it. You cannot answer anything without even a single case, which means there is no problem in that. There is no research gap in that topic. So that's why there is not even a single case which has arose. Then how will you answer your research question? Or what is your research question without even a single interpretation? So that has to be answered there. So libraries research is most convenient way of data collection. And all the sources are now presently available in any law library: books, journals, reports, magazines, newspapers, juristic works, reports of seminar, conferences, symposiums, anything and anything in the library can be taken, especially law library, can be taken as the data for doctrinal research in legal law. So the literature containing factual and philosophical information, articles, thesis, dissertations. That's why one person's thesis will be the beginning of another research. That's not the end. Always there is a limitation for any thesis. We mentioned this is my limitation. What is the scope for further research? Yes, from there we begin. So the previous thesis can be a data for the present one. And use today we are very easy. In fact, in the library, earlier we have to search for every books, but reading from books is a pleasure. We have to agree that. But use of e-library is a modern advanced culture of legal research, which is almost available in every law library today. They are members of various magazines, journals, or all sorts of e-sources we have. So even in our computer, laptop, smartphone, anything you have, yes, we can access data or we can collect data even with a phone in hand. Today we have reached that situation. So this is doctrinal research. This is one, that is library research, doctrinal research. Another one is participation. This we find in both, in fact, even in empirical sometimes that happens, but participation technique is another common pattern of data collection in doctrinal as well as empirical researches. So for doctrinal research also, sometimes participation can be used because the object of doctrinal participatory approach is to obtain knowledge by participating in any activity where relevant information may be obtained by verbal statements and presentations made by some expert or experienced or authoritative, like that. Say, for example, expert speakers speak. From there, we pick up some data. Oh, like this also it can be. We can quote them like that and all. So that is, for that we have to sit in that seminar or we have to sit in that discussion. So we have to participate along with them and collect what they say. So it may be obtained by, as I said, attending some lectures, seminars, conferences, or some legislative discussions, judicial, when cases come up. So attending those cases and you collect every now and then, you follow a case and come to the, so participation also is a common method because it applies to even empirical, more on empirical, but for doctrinal research also, participation can be a technique for data collection. Now coming to empirical research, tools and techniques for data collection in empirical research. So when I say tools and techniques, in fact, it looks similar and it is used interchangeably. Yes, definitely, many places it is used interchangeably. But when I try to identify some differences, very, very thin line of differences there, because techniques are the ways of gathering data, whereas tool refers to the instrument to be used in observing the method or how well you use it. If, for example, we say interview method, but it can be even online also. Say now, today we are sitting here, I'm speaking for Kerala. I did not come there, right? So tools, that time we use it as a tool, email, online, or web, or something we use as a tool. But the technique is basic, right? So otherwise, we find that this is used interchangeably. If I can get more information, I will be happy. Tools and techniques of data collection in empirical research. Common methods or common techniques I'm just discussing. It is like this. The first one is observation, one of the very, very important technique which every researcher should keep. We have to observe things around us where we can get much things around us itself. We need not go anywhere, we will get there itself. And second one is interview method. I'll be explaining all this. Third one, questionnaire method, the most common one, because everywhere we find a questionnaire and we are asked to fill it. And fourth one would be case study. In our case, it would be even judicial decisions. Or if you take a science research or something like that, they call the patient itself as a case, right? Each patient is a case for them. So it's used in different terms. And we have survey method where data are collected, and scaling, right? Observation, interview, questionnaire, case study, survey, and scaling. These are the common techniques of data collection in a non-doctrinal research or an empirical research. So we are moving away from the library. We are going to the society and collect raw data ourselves. That is the aim behind every empirical research. So I'm not satisfied with what is available in the books or in the theories, but I have to meet the person and find out. So that is non-doctrinal research. And first one, observation technique. As I told you, every researcher, once you are a researcher, you should have eyes open wherever you will get sometimes the data. It's a method of collecting. It deals with recording of behavior of the respondents or the sampling units. So suppose you are going to find, your topic is on medical negligence or something like that, on a victim perspective or something, then you have to observe how these victims are reacting. You have to record their behavior of the respondents of your research. And researcher has to observe when I say observation technique, as I told you, I have to be in that spot to observe the phenomenon by myself. Or maybe if it is in a research project or something, you may ask, there are so many research assistants, they will go, yes. So that means what I mean by myself, by himself means I or somebody whom I sent should be on the spot observing the phenomenon. So that's what I mean by that. And by involving himself, the researcher will be able to keep his eye on the entire activity for the accurate data and certain direct inferences. So only when we observe it directly, then we get how they react. Okay, when something happens, how did they do? So even it may be a small consumer issue. Like say I bought a product, but it was defective. So then I go and observe what did they do when it happens to them like that. How many victims are like this, or how many consumers are affected? Like this, I start observing. And observation provides an opportunity for empirical study, that is first-hand collection of data, and there is scientific precision in this method. So here you are able to argue that, no, I observed 100 people, 99 people are doing this. Or you say, no, only 25 are doing what you say is wrong. Because sometimes we presume that the victim will react like this. Need not be. Need not be. We have a law, but how many laws are being implemented, or how many complaints are filed genuinely? That also is there, right? So like this, when we analyze, when we observe, when we apply this observation technique, it's very good for precision, and we get the proper answer or number in a way. Say you have taken 100, out of 100, how many you will be able to say very, very clearly with surety, accuracy. That is observation technique. And in observation also, there are some kinds. It is participant observation. Here, the researcher himself actively involves with the other members of the group. That is, for example, I am observing 100 people. Now, I am also involved in that 100, and I go behind them. In participant observation, the researcher will be able to have close relationships with the groups. We have heard people, a journalist and all, they, in order to make a report, they will be living there, almost living there. There are projects, so people who undertake projects, they will be living with the people whom they want to meet, say, for example, tribes or like that. There you involve in all their activities, eat their food, live their life, and then find out. So that is participatory observant. Quasi-participant observant. In this, he does not remain all the way, but whenever he needed, he will go. Say some festivals are happening, some sports is happening, some in-group dinner is happening, then I will go and participate, and I will observe only that. So not for everything, excuse me, only for very few. And non-participant observation is, here he remains not with the group, he's away from the group, but he studies their activities and behavior as a neutral person. He is not eating that food. He will stand outside and see, okay, whether this is good. As a third person, I will tell. So this is non-observant observation. Say, for example, he will not be in that environment. He will not participate in the social life of the observed group, etc. In participant, he will be part of it. He will live there. But in non-participant, he will not be there. In quasi-participant, every now and then he will be there. So these are the kinds of observation. Now coming to interview, the most common once again, but there are also difficulties, because every time you can't interview a person. But if suppose there is a topic on celebrity endorsement, today Consumer Protection Act says that celebrities are also liable for endorsing a product. So if I have to do a research on that topic, I have to interview the real celebrities who appeared in an advertisement to ask them, how do they feel? Or really, did they test the topic? Do you know the topic? Did you really endorse it after verifying all the facts? Without interview, I cannot find that. So in such situations or such topics, interview method will be a very good one. Here, the researcher enters into face-to-face interaction with any person or group for the purpose of seeking certain information as to facts, idea, or observation relevant to his research. So you might ask, you might naturally get a doubt, then what is observation? There also he doesn't ask any question. He's just observing. He will be there in the group, look in his own, and he will try to write. But in interview, he will be asking questions itself, direct questions. What do you feel? How do you think? Etc. etc. And the components of the interview, if you take the researcher, the interviewer, the interviewee, and the interview environment. That's very important, because a political, suppose we are writing on political parties or how did they react to the situation and all. Every time you can't meet a political party leaders, especially suppose you want to know or you're doing a research on the parliamentary proceedings and all. On the spot, you have to conduct the interview. So the interview environment is also very important for the person who is interviewed to answer properly. The same person, even we ourselves, suppose we are in a busy schedule and we are doing some other job, our answer will be different. If I'm asked peacefully, think and tell, then my answer would be different, right? So the interview environment, the interviewer, the interviewee, all are important, or the components of the interview as a technique. Now, even in interview, there are types, right? First is structured interviews. Mostly, even sometimes press reporters or even journalists and all, proper questions will be written. I want answers only for this. That's all. Structured interview or semi-structured interview. Sometimes what they will do is they will write 5 questions. The answers will come. From there, they will pick up another question and they go. So semi-structured interviews. Unstructured interviews, totally out of sudden. I have to ask somebody, I'm asking 5 questions. How do you feel like this? Say, suppose we are studying on say juvenile delinquency, or we are studying about the rights of the convicts or something like that, or I want to analyze the feeling of people who are convicted for death penalty, immediately I have to ask, when death penalty was pronounced on you, how do you feel? Just then and there I have to find out. So my interviews will not be structured or anything. Just like that, I have to ask and then I have to get the data. These are the types, but methods of research interviews. While you carry out, you can have personal interview, that is directly you go to the person, you take, or you can have telephonic interviews, because today modern advancements have come. So through telephone also, we can ask some 10 questions and they'll answer. And we can have email or web page interviews. Today, I told you, it's all modern. Nobody goes directly and all. Say earlier and all, when we have to take or do up a study in jail and all, we have to go there, ask them permission, they won't allow, etc., etc. But today, maybe through these web pages or emails and all, everybody is using everything. Or maybe even political leaders like that, for that matter. Emails, if you send properly, it will come through proper channel and we can contact them and we can ask. So interviews methods will differ, but still interview method is one of the very good method for collecting data. Say even judges, say pronouncements of judgments, like you can, what is the different opinions of different judges? You have to ask an interview, otherwise we'll never know. Because even the person who pronounced the judgment, after some years, there may be difference or opinion, right? So we have to ask like that. Now coming to questionnaire. Again, one of the most common today, because now earlier and all interview was very popular, but today questionnaire is very popular because electronic media is there. We can structure a questionnaire and send it to somebody, you get an answer. Now again, what is the difference between interview and questionnaire is, in interview, you ask the question, get answers like that, maybe by any method. But in questionnaire, you only prepare a question, you send it across and it will come back to you. No reactions. You cannot know the reactions of the person. So on each indicator, the questionnaire is, it's a physical or electronic document which consists of predetermined set of questions printed, typed or digitalized, distributed and sent to various persons for their response or such questions. On each indicator, there must be questions designed. Here in questionnaire, what is the difficulty, challenge is that our research questions, what all answers we know, we need, we must frame a question properly. Otherwise, we'll miss out some indicator. That's the problem is that. And it should be free from ambiguity, easy to understand and grammatically correct. For this purpose, if anybody is using this method, I prefer, if you are taking a survey in Tamil Nadu, you should have in Tamil also. If you are taking it in Kerala, you should have it in Malayalam also. So that language is also a problem, because a questionnaire comes to me, if I cannot read or I cannot understand, how will I answer? So I cannot be a participant in that questionnaire. You cannot even add me. Ambiguities, your questions should be direct most probably. And it is useful when observation and interview is not possible. Sometimes it's not possible to meet anybody, as I told you, political party leaders or something like that. So we can send across questionnaire and get an answer. So this will be a good method for that. But the idea is we should not miss out anything that we need, because we cannot rectify later. Whatever we got with that only we have to work out. And case study method, that's another technique, very popular technique, which is used by us. It's an in-depth study of any unit from the beginning to the end. Any person, family, institution, group, caste, community, or nation may be the unit for the purpose of the study. So suppose we say reservations. Reservations for this particular sector of people we are claiming. Even the government does this. They have to take a survey, or they should study the group, or they should conduct I would say, they should collect data from that particular group which need reservation, or they should conduct even a single person. As I told you, in medical science, they use case, means a single person. So how do they react to this, or what are the things? Or so case study is an in-depth study of one single unit. And by the study, those qualities of an unit are focused and analyzed, which makes it distinct from the other and special subject matter of study in which researcher is interested to know. So when I say juvenile delinquency, sometimes I will be studying, it's a vast area again, it's only an area. So suppose I am studying only the reasons for juvenile delinquency, and I feel the family breakups or not properly attended, only that is the reason. Then I have to study in depth each juvenile delinquent, their family, I have to study and come back. So that's how I go in-depth study. That's what I mean by case study here. In legal research especially, we have to go into the historical perspective. Legal history of India, you have to study. Constitutional history of India, we have to study. Judicial contribution of any judge, academic contribution of any renowned educationist, and life of an artist. These are all examples of case study method. So we have to contribution of any judge, single judge. So that means all his judgments have to be learned. So in this type of cases, how he reacts, or in this type of cases, what was the type of judgment which he gave? Was he liberal towards these type of people? Like this, we have to study an in-depth on one single judge, or that's an example in legal research case study method. The next would be survey method, wherein it's commonly used in social science and socio-legal researches, because for planning, for policy making, or even the government, as I said, if they want to know how people feel on this, even before, sometimes you will find even before the law comes, it will be put to survey saying this is the bill is going to come. We want to know the experience, observation, and opinion of people. When it was put to use, what happened? What difficulty did you face? All this will, if you have, for example, GST, you take as an example. Suppose somebody wants to know how GST affected the small scale sector. Then we have to take a survey on small scale sectors, which was prevailing before GST, after GST, how much did they pay, how much did they grow, what benefits did they get. So survey method will be a useful one. It's a process of collecting quantity of facts in systematic and organized manner to report any social problem or status of facts in certain area of society. When the object of the study is to search the information through real public experience, their opinions, their feelings, which is of social importance, then survey method will be a very good technique to be observed. And it decides about the means of information. Mostly the information is obtained through scheduled questionnaire personnel. So survey, if I have to take a survey, I have to apply questionnaire method. So like that, it's another technique, mixed, it will be used. So this is also one technique which will be used for collecting data in non-doctrinal. But before launching its units, survey in any unit, where that we must be clear. We can't collect all through and we can't collect scattered way. We must be precise in our unit. It must be definite, appropriate in size, so that generalized statement made on the basis of the information must be coherent. Here only sampling and all becomes very important, because population is 100, out of which I collected more than 60 people, then maybe my sampling is right. Or if the population is 1 lakh, I collected only 100 people. Now, with 100 people, how do I conclude for lakh? That's a big question. Many times states in our country, if you take states, If I conduct a survey in Tamil Nadu, that may not be the right result for Kerala. So I have to specifically mention that it is for the state of Tamil Nadu with special reference to state of Tamil Nadu. It can be even a single district. I live in Chennai, so with a special reference to Chennai district, yes. But then we have to be careful in justifying why did I choose Chennai district for that matter. All this have to be justified. Then only survey method will get a meaning. It will be a meaningful result. Last one, one of the, again, scaling, we call it. When we say scaling, it is one of the, I would say not very popular, but yes, it's also to measure something by using any unit of measurement. So again, numbers, quantitative. And it measures social behavior and attributes of man by converting qualitative into quantitative. The beginning I told you, operationalization. So that takes place. I felt happy, like if I say it's only qualitative, but how much can you rate it? You ask from 0 to 10, then I will get a scale. And from there, I go with quantitative data. And it is a method of converting series of qualitative facts into quantitative, and attributes are turned into variables. So that's how it is becoming, or it is called as scaling. Again, yes, it's needed because when we collect qualitative data, finally in computation stage, we need to quantify. So scaling becomes an important technique, or questionnaires and schedules are used as a source of applying this method. We collect the information qualitatively, then we convert it into scaling. And to conclude, as beginning somebody told, research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. It's a quote. So that's what is all about research. In that research, data collection is one of the very, very important steps which every researcher will undergo. As I told in the beginning, I repeat, it's a very, very cumbersome process. Definitely, we need to have that hard work and perseverance to succeed in that. The techniques which I have told you, it is not compulsory that we have to adopt only one technique. No. And it is not compulsory that only this technique is good, that technique is bad. No. All these techniques have their own advantages and disadvantages, but sometimes it is a mix and match according to our topic. I repeat, it is individual topic. That's why I always tell to PhD scholars, there is no competition between you. All are individual scholars, individual topic. Your topic might need questionnaire. My topic need not need it. Then why should I go behind a questionnaire? No need. So it depends on how well you choose your topic. So no method or technique is conclusive. It's according to the social problems and according to the topic which you have chosen. Thank you once again for this opportunity. I'll be happy to hear questions from you.
Ma'am, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. Now, participants, if you have any queries, you may raise your hand. Anyone?
No questions.
It seems like there's no doubt. So
either everybody understood or nobody understood. Either way it can be correct when there's no doubts. You can even put it in the chat box. I'm ready to look forward.
fine, it seems like it's over. So now I welcome Ms. Neha, student of first sem LLM, Kerala Law Academy Law College, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kavya. Good afternoon, everyone. It seems to be a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to the chief guest of the session, Dr. Haritha Devi ma'am, Associate Professor and Director of Research and Publication.
If I'm not interrupting, I think some people want to ask something. So may you allow them? Because some have given their hands. If I'm not interrupting, I'm sorry.
Sure,
Okay,
ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Yeah. So, Mr. Prapash Sarath, please unmute and ask.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
My name is Prabha Sharath. I am studying LLM. We are conducting research. On the research, we are keeping confidentiality and transparency. How we maintain?
Pardon? How we have to maintain confidentiality, you are asking. Yeah.
On transfer, you see how we keep cope up with the two things, how to maintain.
Correct. Yeah. See, in every questionnaire or in every survey which we take, or sometimes interview also, we ask some personal details in that. In the beginning of that questionnaire would be, first 5 questions would be your name, where you're working, etc. and all, right? So those informations have to be confidential, because we have to give an undertaking in science researches and all. An ethical committee is there in hospitals, wherein only when the ethical committee approves the draft of this undertaking, that we will not let out the information, they allow us to take a survey itself. Similarly, legal research also, suppose we are interviewing judges or we are interviewing political leaders, we have to be very clear communicating to them that this is only for research purposes and your confidentiality will be maintained. So in that case, then yes, we can maintain. The first part of that information which you have collected, personal information, should not be let out anywhere. So transparency have to be maintained. Maybe X, Y, Z, or maybe we can give different names, and we have to mention it everything clearly, saying that for confidentiality, we are not giving the names of the victims. Sometimes victims and all, when we analyze, definitely we have to maintain confidentiality. Otherwise, there is no meaning. Even judgments, you have noticed, no, Mr. X versus Y hospital, they are reporting like that only. But the judgment is reported. We are studying that. So that way we can maintain confidentiality, I think.
Okay. Dr. S. Rajalakshmi can unmute and ask.
I think it's my colleague.
Hello, ma'am. This is
Yes.
Rajalakshmi. First of all, it is a very wonderful presentation you have made. From my side, I just appreciate your effort you have taken. I have two basic questions, ma'am. First thing is, just now you told about that how to maintain confidentiality in the research work.
Yeah.
In that case, how will you suggest ways and means to check the credibility of the data which we are collecting? Because there is a high chance that there can be a possibility of data diddling is there.
Correct.
I can manipulate the data. I may
Yes,
say
yes.
that. So I hope you got my question.
Yes,
So
yes.
how can we check with that parameter?
Yes, madam. That is actually a very, very difficult task today in online things, because even for a review, if you go for even a movie or take any hotels and or before booking, we go for a review, there will be 5 stars given. But when you really approach that institution, it will be that not that good. So that means who gave this 5 stars? So there's always possibility of manipulating data in definitely this online things and all. So that is where I feel, it's my personal opinion, maybe it's manipulated. In that case, the researcher, if it's possible for the researcher to verify personally through observation or interview, it will be much more better. Instead of adopting only questionnaire, sending questionnaire, I got data, okay, I did that. Instead of that, if we mix the method called interview and that observation, where you are directly there, you might be able to reduce this data being dwindled. I think this is my view. Maybe more answers I await
maybe
from.
if I need little bit clarity, that is there any rules and regulation as to that examiner can look into the credibility of the data? Ask for
Now, no. I think as of now, no, because when usually examiners, when we send evaluation, when they see that data has been collected directly or when it is empirical, they agree. They go like that. They agree with that. But I think we definitely, but the possibility of the examiner verifying the data is also very difficult, because they are in some part of the place and we are in another part of it. Sometimes valuation of thesis from Tamil Nadu goes to Delhi. So probably it's very difficult for them to verify. Better it is between the researcher and the guide to verify. That would be a better. But manipulation, yes, definitely takes place, because many times we feel when we read as if these data are all important. That's where I said in the beginning, no, there are authors or big jurists saying that I think doctrinal is better. You are manipulating data in non-doctrinal. There is always easy manipulate, and I can fill 100 questionnaires from 100 emails whom I know, and I can finish off the thesis. within minutes. So it need not be the same. So that's what they say. That's why doctrinal is better. At least you have thought something and wrote. But on the other hand, they say, if you're really doing it with good, correct data, if you have taken, that is the best. So both are there. It's very difficult. Yeah.
My second question was actually, there will be always a prejudice over the topic which we take.
Definitely.
So I may go for any method of data collecting. What if the researcher has his own prejudice over the topic? Will it not influence over the outcome of the research?
Definitely. Because if I have to get an answer for my hypothesis, I will go only to people who ask such questions, will answer that such questions.
Yeah.
Or I will get proper answer. That is also, that's what I said, no, ma'am. I feel instead of empirical, sometimes doctrinal is much more better. But again, the reality, we have to face it. That's why always for a researcher, the best quality would be, don't be prejudiced. Don't expect that my hypothesis should be proved. If my hypothesis is not proved, also it is a good conclusion and a good thesis. People fear that only. Many times students fear, ma'am, when I collected, I understood that it is not like that. So I manipulate and I give the answer as if my hypothesis is correct. Need not be. Don't be biased. Sometimes in some personal, for example, like my topic itself, reproductive rights and all, like when you go to ask them, you won't even get the data. They will say, we are not ready to answer. Please report that with honesty, because so many people are keeping things in private and that is why they are suffering. For women's health and all, if you ask, they won't even answer. No, that's and all is my private affair. Okay. So since it is kept private, that is why we are not getting solution. That can be a conclusion. Very good conclusion. So researchers should not be, I think, biased. Once they are biased, automatically the data collected would be also biased.
Thank you, madam, for giving an answer which is not prejudice. And thank you for a honest answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jeet Singh Man, please unmute and ask.
Hello, bhai. See, very good lecture, Professor. I really appreciate your approach.
Thank you.
And but the problem is, see, each and every time I think we have to take permission from the organizer. See, let us not make it a monologue. Let us have a dialogue, right? See, if you want to raise certain issue, see, everybody is not perfect. But when I feel that something is missing in the presentation, then I'm not allowed to participate. Now, what is the purpose of this program? If that is the case, see, the program must focus only on discussion and dialogue. I think most of the participants are aware of basic concepts regarding research methodology.
Yeah.
Right. I think you should take into consideration the participation, proactive participation from the participants. Number two, now question coming back to your discussion, Professor. See, it is related to data collection, and especially in social sciences, data collection is a serious problem, and especially subjectivity. So my question is how to overcome that subjectivity from the perception of the researcher, number one, from the perception of the stakeholders or the respondents. And number two is that convenient sample, right? It is very easy to go for the convenient sample, especially when that universe is not known.
Correct.
So how to ensure the authenticity of that convenient sample? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think the organizers would have noted the first issue which sir has raised. You need a participant. Allow the participants also to discuss. Second, sir asked the same question. I think previously Rajalakshmi ma'am also was asking that only. The researcher should not be biased. Again, I give the same answer because once you are biased, you tend to go to convenience sampling. You tend to collect only informations or data from wherever I will get a proper answer where I can finish my thesis and go off. So that should be avoided by a researcher. I think institutions and research institutions must be ready to accept that such conclusions also will come. See, when we write a hypothesis and finally we say my hypothesis is not proved, then a question comes to the researcher. He's fearing that, the researcher is fearing, oh, they will ask me, then finally, why did you do this research? Nobody should ask. If that is avoided slowly, then this bias on the part of our researchers will go. Anytime when we even today, when we write an article, we immediately have a doubt in our mind in the beginning. Is this the right topic? Am I going in the right direction? That always has a fear. That fear only tend to manipulate the data. That fear has to be taken away from us. As researchers, we are doing only research. That's it. So not beyond that. And the confidentiality. If we are ready to maintain the confidentiality, because, for example, I think, I don't know whether I'm right in this example, but as suppose we took an interview from a very famous judge or Supreme Court judge or from the Prime Minister himself, if I'm able to take, then we tend to reveal that information because I feel proud I took it from the Prime Minister or a President. Even there, if I am ready to maintain my confidentiality, no, only data I will give, not from where I took, then maybe if I'm ready for that, then we get honest answers. And we inform the participant of any technique saying that interview, questionnaire, etc. This is only for research purposes, not to harm you or not to file a case or something like that. Then maybe we will get a credible information. I think that's what is the only solution, because credibility of information is always a problem in case of especially socio-legal research. Yes. Sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Sir, I do agree with the suggestion you have made, but in order to avoid certain disturbance from participants who accidentally unmute, that's why we are forced to mute everyone.
Yeah.
And since we appreciate your suggestion, that's the reason why we are putting a discussion session at the end of.
Yeah.
Okay. Next we have Miss Lata Kumari may unmute and ask.
Thank you very much for your presentation, ma'am. It is easy to understand. My question is that when we are doing a research, can we use multiple methods for a research? Example for interview method and sampling method, questionnaire method.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
Okay. Then is there any proportion?
Pardon?
Is there any proportion?
No. Again, see, that's what, ma'am. If suppose I am taking sampling, say 100 people I have chosen, out of 100, maybe only 20 I can go for interview. Because remaining people, it is not possible for me to meet. Then I can send the questionnaire to them and get answers. But I have to mention it clearly. That's what it's my feeling, again, my opinion. I don't know whether I am wrong. But I think we can give a clear data saying 20 people we have interviewed and got these answers. 20 people we have sent a questionnaire and we got these answers. What's wrong? I think we can compute that finally. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Then another one is any problem while we are making an interview with one famous person? Is it any problem to disclose their identity in our?
Depends on how well they said it. If they say I have no problem, you can reveal. Yes.
If they are with consent, we can do it.
Yes,
okay?
With acceptance. That's very important. That's where I said we have to give an undertaking first itself saying that I will not reveal. If they say no, I have no problem, then fine. See how much we have to maintain confidentiality is between that person and ourselves. So I think that way we have to proceed.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Vijayalakshmi may unmute and ask.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yeah, we always inspired by your sincerity and honesty, as always, ma'am. That the statistical analysis, ma'am. Do we have to know we should have a deeper knowledge in statistical analysis, or because we get the data collection? For example, if you go to the brick making people and we are collecting information, do we have to statistically analysis? Is that, or whether the data we are collecting from that we have to interpret, or do we need a statistical knowledge or to analyze it?
As far as I know, presently we no need any statistical knowledge and all, because there are so many statisticians. Once you collect the raw data, give it to them, they will compute and give. Apart from that, there are computer packages also available, which is fondly called as SPSS package and all is available, which we can have in ourselves. Put the data inside, everything will come to you with the graph, everything it comes. I think we can rely. After that, it's about our interpretation with that results. When you write, you have to interpret. That's our job. Otherwise, everybody should learn statistics for empirical study is not a compulsion today. Because that is where it's about mutual understanding. We have to have a statistician with us. And when we write, every time our research and all, even my guide used to tell, you have a person with literature, give it to them, ask them to read. You don't read. Because when we read, we feel everything is correct. When whatever we write and we read, we feel nice. But when a literature person reads only, they'll say this was is wrong, this as is wrong, this even the small words would be wrong, what we use, right? So yes, it's a mutual thing. We can use.
This doubt I raised for me because when we read an article with economically based articles for labor purpose, there we can see that immediately after one para, we can see that sigma so and so number
table and everything like that. Yes, not
that's what.
But a little bit knowledge will for us it will be easy. If we don't have, we have to rely on a statistician only. No other one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Seems like no. So thank you, everyone. Now we are winding up this feedback session. Now I welcome Ms. Neha, student of first sem LLM, Kerala Law Academy Law College, to give the word of thanks. Neha,
thank you, Kavya. Good afternoon, everyone. It seems to be a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to the chief guest of the session, Dr. Haritha Devi Ma'am, Associate Professor and Director of Research and Publication, Dr. Ambedkar Law University, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, for making an excellent lecture on techniques of data collection and making this session meaningful and interesting one. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our Honourable Founder, late Dr. N. Narayanan Nair Sir, the Soul of Kerala Law Academy Law College, Advocate Nagaraj Narayanan Sir, Director, Kerala Law Academy Law College, Professor Harindran Sir, Principal, Kerala Law Academy Law College, for his presence in this session. I am happy to express vote of thanks to Professor Anil Kumar K. Sir, Professor G. Anil Kumar Sir, Professor Ajita Ma'am, Assistant Professor Dr. Dakshina Saraswati Ma'am, and all other professors, student coordinators, technical team, and all participants who make this session a grand success through their support, motivation, and dedication. Last but not least, thank you all for making this event a huge success. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, Sneha. With this, we conclude our 7th session of the 16th two-day National Workshop on Research Methodology. I extend my thanks to all those who made this discussion a fruitful one with your valuable contributions. I humbly request everyone to attend the 8th session of the workshop scheduled at 4 p.m. Thank you, everyone. This
Thank
is
you very
Kavya
much.
Mohan
Thank
signing
you.
off.